Hey everybody, Barry here again, continuing on with part 2 of the Friday evening build, I guess you'd call it. Anyway, I'm going to pull this engine out because I know where everything needs to go. What I need to do tonight is make engine mounts for it because I'm tired of pulling this thing in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, so it's going to go in and stay. So I'm going to make stringers come from right here to the bottom side of this rad support. And then over here, same thing. I'll weld them to the cradle and then come up here and gusset this and bolt them down. That's the plan for right now, and then I'll build my engine mounts off of that. So off of this piece right here, we'll come up to the block up here where they bolt on. I have to decide if I'm going to do solid engine mounts to here or go with the regular, Chev truck style engine mounts. Because it's going to have like 8 bushings in the cradle. Well, from the cradle to the frame. So do I need all those bushings? Obviously I need all those, but do I need all those bushings and rubber engine mounts? Or do I do solid engine mounts and rely on all those rubber ones to absorb the vibration and stuff like that? Which I think could be potentially fine. Because the rat rod only had 4 cab mounts connected to the frame and they were rubber. What I'm going to use for my cradle mount bushings that I'm making is this stuff. This is 1/2 inch thick conveyor belt. It's very tough, very solid, but also flexible. You can see here that I cut out a bunch of it for cab mounts for the rat rod. It worked perfect. I used like 1/2 inch, 1.5 inch wide washers and they didn't crush or anything. The mounts didn't squat together or mushroom out. Everything was fine there. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'll do like bushing, 2x3, another bushing, and then bolt directly up through the middle of it. So that'll be a vibration damper and also take any torque from the engine without breaking the frame. Let me undo the rack, get this engine pulled out, we'll start some fabrication. Alrighty, well, I had the time lapse going for a little bit and got some stuff done. So here are our frame rails going from the cradle up to the rad support. I got those drilled out. And if I can find my pipe, here it is. This is going to go down here and get welded. And this frame rail here, I'll weld it on the top and the bottom, act as a gusset. And I'll also drill this 2x3 and do the same thing and weld that top and bottom. That way, when I'm bolting it down, the pipe won't crush. All the strain will be on this pipe. I just had to take a 10-second break so I can go get some supper. And at 10:30 at night, the only thing I can get is a Big Mac meal, which is probably not a good idea, but it's food, whatever, keeps me alive. I'll be back at it in a minute. Now this is what I call a setup. Supper. I'm watching Bernie brace up a 9-inch Ford. Good stuff. Bye, dinner. Ugh, pickles. Gross. I'm going to pull the cradle out now. Again, for like the 50th time. Continue drilling all these holes because obviously the bit's not long enough to go all the way down through there. So I'll drill the bottom hole in this frame rail. Drill the 2 holes in this frame rails, weld my sleeves in. And I think I'll probably go ahead and finish weld all this stuff here. Get the rack brackets done, And well, we're getting close now. Man, it was way more work than I expected. And my drill, yeah, that's finished. It smells like paint. Rest in peace. Anyway, we got our holes drilled. So I'll go ahead, weld the bottom side, slice them off flush, weld the top side, repeat, repeat, repeat. Weld everything up solid here. I might even go ahead and cap this in. I might. See how I feel. Got some more done. Got the sleeves put in the frame here and here and welded in on both sides. Up and under is good. Got them welded into this 2x3 here. You can sort of see them. Well, that one you can see anyway. Still gotta clean up some of this stuff here yet where I cut it and stuff. Before I go too far, getting these ends welded on right here, I'm going to bolt everything up in place, and I don't have bolts long enough for this yet, so I'll just grab some 1/2-inch threaded rod, drive it in there, bolt it together, just for the purpose of getting everything finished up and keep this ball rolling. So I got a lot of progress done tonight, and I'm working on getting more done. It's like 12 o'clock or something now, so I don't care if it's daylight before I go home, really. I'm good to go. So hopefully might be able to get some engine mounts done tonight, if everything goes well, if I don't run out of steam, but we'll see how far we get. For the purpose of bolting this up, and so I don't have to mess around making bushings right now, I got some threaded rod, tacked a couple nuts on top. Those will drop in here. And to make up the gap, I got a couple of 1/2-inch thick nuts. It's about the same thickness, ow, as my rubber bushing. So it'll give me that much anyway. One-handed. That's better. Nuts put in there to mimic bushings. And if I didn't mangle the treads up too much, which it looks like I might have. Well, they're bolted in, and of course we didn't crush the pipe because sleeves. Now, I know it looks kind of freaky with 2 frame rails just hanging below the crossmember here, but the bumper is going to come well below that, so we're not going to see any of this. Plus, I'll cap these ends in here so no salt and garbage and stuff gets in there when I drive it in the winter. Which I would really not like to drive this in the winter, because it's going to have a spool and a turbo LS, and this thing is fairly light, like it's 4,500 pounds. So I think it could be ultra sketchy. Just a note, Cass, I want to drive this in the winter. Now I can start making some engine mounts. First, one thing I noticed is that the transmission likes to hit right here. So I think I'm going to radius this here a bit more. Not a big deal because it's inside the dash. And the plasma cutter will fit up there perfect. You know what? I'm doing solid engine mounts. This thing has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rubber body bushings. Just gonna absorb lots and lots of vibration. Plus I'll do a rubber transmission mounts. And I know you shouldn't do rubber with solid and all that junk, but I had it on the rat rod for like 2 full years now. 1 full summer with a turbo LS doing first, second, and third gear launches and burnouts and all that stuff, and I never had any issues at all. I like using a rubber transmission mounts because it dampens the vibrations that you feel in the shifter. That's what I find. It's a lot better. You don't get the same fatigue on your hands using the shifter and stuff. There's no vibration through it, so I like that a lot better. I'm not going to be using these mounts, but I will absolutely use them as a template. All I need to do is mark that hole, and that one, and that one. There we go. There are 4 bolt holes. Now, of course, I'll trim this up here and do this, make it look really pretty. Basically, all I need is somewhere to weld my Schedule 40 pipe to. I went ahead and made motor mount plates and got those bolted onto the engine. And they look really good. Here's the other side bolted on. Now what I need to do is set the engine down in place, get it leveled up where I want it to be. So right now, I guess I'll level up the van, make sure it's perfectly level this way, front to back, just to be sure that I'm on a even field here when I go to set up the engine. I don't want the engine being crooked off to one side and looking dumb and not working right and stuff, so we'll get that started up first. With everything bolted in and tacked into place, I gotta say I like it. Looks good, and it's wicked strong. I don't even have it fully welded yet, and you can jump on it. Makes me feel really good about this thing going in there tonight. I'll get it in, get it all leveled up, make sure it's good and sturdy, not touching anywhere, and I'm gonna make up some engine mounts. Just a quick update, because what I'm doing right now, I've done 200 times, and I don't wanna bore you. Engine is pretty much squared up. I still have to level it this way, but it is square in the frame rails. I've got notes written pretty much everywhere. Now I just need to level it and have a bar coming from here up to my engine mount. I can weld it on. Engine is leveled up. Supported it on a jack stand, block of wood on the oil pan with the chain drawn just tight enough to hold it. And I put a level across the flange here on the front of the timing cover. That's a level spot on the engine. That'll work perfect. I'll go ahead and check my measurements again back and forth and on the tail shaft just to be sure. Check clearances on everything. And then we're good to go. I also just checked and the rocker panels are level. The engine is tilted back. It's balancing between 6 and 7 degrees. So that's gonna give us really good U-joint angle there. So the U-joints don't be sticking and stuff like that at 0 degrees and not grease up the pins and stuff. So I'm happy with that. That's pretty cool. And it's got a good look to it. It's tilted back just enough that it offsets the shape of the fenders here. It looks really good. And the hood will close, which I'm kind of indifferent about because I really like to see a turbo sticking out of the hood. Anyway, this is ready. I'm gonna go cut up some pipe, get us some engine mounts made. Another thing I'd like to note is the transmission mount bolts on right up here, which is not really far away from the cradle. So I was kind of thinking that maybe I could make up some sort of a cage or crossmember to come from the back of the cradle up here up to the transmission. That way, if I need to change the engine or change the transmission, or if I burn up a clutch, whatever, I can unbolt the whole cradle, lay it on the ground, lift the van right up off of it, and everything is done. No having to mess around with transmission cross members, not having to mess with engine cross members, and I might even see if I can get the turbo inside the frame rail, so I don't have to undo the turbo, just pull off the downpipe and lift the van right up over it. It'd be pretty sweet if that was an option. We have engine mounts. It's been a long time coming. It's bolted in. Look over here. And over here. I'll brace this up. Make sure that it ain't going anywhere. I think it's gonna be fine anyway, but it's, man, it's looking good. Of course, I gotta fully weld everything, right down to the cradle, where I cut a bunch of stuff out, welded in some pipe, that kind of thing. So that's all gotta be fully welded and braced. So I'm not gonna be leaving this just as it is, of course, half welded and just tacked together and stuff. This is all gonna be finished welded. I like to make sure everything is completely done before I finish weld, because too many times I've kicked myself because I fully welded everything looked perfect, awesome, then something's a ½ inch off and I gotta go and cut, adjust, and re-weld again, and it's a real pain, and I don't like it. Waste of material, waste of time, and harder work to undo. So this is why I'm having everything tacked so far. But man, it looks good. There's so much room. Look how high the damper is in relation to the rad support. How high the oil pan is, how it's not below at all. Lots of room for the rack down here. Piles of room. Lines and everything got room. Good stuff. I'm not completely burnt out yet. I think it's 2:30-ish, maybe 3. And look what it is outside. I thought spring was here, but it's snowing. Welcome to Newfoundland. I'm gonna take the engine stand out of it for a look to see for the first time the engine suspended by its own mounts. And here we have it. First look of the Turbo LS in the Caravan, sitting on its own weight. That is so cool. Man, there's so much room. It looks smaller in there than the V6 did. Fits under the cowl really well too. I'd really like to try the truck intake on there. So we do have quite a bit of room. There's like 3 or 4 inches there. And if I have to trim some of this cowl here out of the way, as long as I stay away from this bracket that holds the wiper motor, if I could trim that just this wide to get a truck intake there, I will. So that'll be sweet. Although, the hood probably wouldn't close. So maybe it's not a good idea. It's pretty close now. Scrap the truck idea. Oh yeah, I'm putting the front bumper on it. Look at it! If you didn't know this was in here, you would never know that this was in here. Oh man, that's cool. That is way too cool. I've never been more excited to have an actual sleeper. But look how unsuspecting it is. There's nothing. There's no V8 in this. It's just a red Caravan. And then you open the hood, or in this case, take it off. Woo! Deadly. Dodge power. Plum crazy purple and everything. Or the dollar store's version of plum crazy. Don't yell at me. So you can see here the offset that the engine is on. When everything is in there, turbo's in there, all the piping and everything, intercooler, it's gonna look just as factory as it can be. All right, I have a plan for the transmission. The only issue is right now I don't have enough steel, but I can go ahead and make a couple of brackets, that kind of thing. So I've got some 1/4-inch plate here. If I can find somewhere to lay it down because my bench is a state at the moment. And what I'm gonna do is take this piece. That's one that I've had bent for something previously. And this will be the flange where the transmission bolts on. Transmission mount, which I have a new one right here. This bolts up to the transmission and one stud comes down there. And it'll bolt on just like that. And then below it, I'll cut it off, say here somewhere. And it'll be like this. And from here to here is, I don't know, 7 inches or so. So I can cut that one off to the same length. And then basically go from the tail shaft of the transmission up to the cradle. Because right now, well, I'm a terrible artist, but let's pretend. Here's our engine, transmission, and the tail shaft. Well, the tail mount goes right here. And what I'll do is use the angled piece of pipe like that, and then basically come up to the corner of the cradle right here, and the same right here. Look, I even drew it offset by accident. And then also I can tie off of this mount and go in under as a cross member like I was talking about before. That would tie these two ends together, keep them nice and strong. This will be nice and strong. This is not going to hold much weight. It's just going to stop, you know, rotational rocking force. I'm sorry if this video gets too long. I've been here since 6:30 and it's now 3 o'clock. I'm not done yet. So if it gets too long, I apologize and thanks for hanging in there. I know I'm not a great welder and I'm using flux core and all, but that actually looks okay. Dude, I'm okay with that. A little bit of flux left on there, but I figured I should weld the sides too so it doesn't crack. Minty. And here's our transmission mount. So we can see that the mount bolts onto the bottom here. Lots of room to get a ratchet on. I'll put a washer in that on later on when I finish it. Bolts up to the transmission. And our pipe will go to each side of the cradle. Fun. So it looks like I'm pretty much out of stuff to do tonight. I accomplished what I wanted to get done. I wanted to get the engine mounted, and here it is. done. Well, not done, but it's in and it's hanging on its own weight. I do have a jack under the transmission tail shaft just to be sure that it doesn't tip back and break the mount or anything like that. So I'll leave that for tonight. I'll put a jack stand under it. And when I get some pipe tomorrow, I will bang right back at it again. And when I get the transmission tail shaft done and it's supported by its own weight, I'll have it all put together. And then I can put the cradle down on 4 jack stands, lift the van off of it, take the engine transmission off, and start welding. Get everything plated up and braced up, make it nice and strong, make sure it's not going anywhere. Solid weld the motor mounts, solid weld all the cradle stuff, and this is a big relief to have this done tonight. So I'm gonna shut her down for tonight, go home, get a shower, and try and get some sleep. It is now 3:45, so that's like enough for me tonight. Cass gonna wake up soon and go, where is my husband? What? Did he leave? What?